Beers. Cheers to you, sir. I think we got some UFC shenanigans to talk about.
Yeah, man. Let's jump in the shenanigans. All right. Well, hit me with what you got, man. What's going on in the world of UFC today?
All right. Well, obviously we've got a big fight coming up tomorrow night. Well, big, I guess you can put in quotations. Big in the sense that it's Anderson Silva's last fight, and we're actually going to get to that in a second. But yeah, Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva, headlining the card tomorrow night. But other than that, not a lot going on in the UFC right now in terms of like, this. I feel like this year especially has been filled with drama and excitement every single week for one reason or another. But after sort of, Khabib's win last week, the industry's been kind of quiet overall, besides people complaining that he shouldn't be called the GOAT and he shouldn't be the number one pound for pound right now. But I feel like that's kind of beating a dead horse. But looking a little bit further out into the future, the UFC 255 card, which is headlined by Davison Figueiredo and I don't remember who he's fighting, honestly. But regardless, Mike Perry was slated to fight Robbie Lawler on November 21st. And, I haven't done a lot of looking into this, but I'm curious, did Mike Perry fulfill his expectation of getting professional help for his anger/alcohol substance abuse issues, after that incident he had where he put hands on some innocent people? But regardless, Robbie had to pull out of the fight because of an injury. And so that left Mike Perry without an opponent. And so Mike Perry's calling out Khamzat Chimaev, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But Khamzat actually already got a fight booked with Leon Edwards on December 19th. So this is really interesting. I found this really interesting this week. We've been hearing a lot from Leon Edwards. He's the number 3 ranked middleweight right now. And he's not getting a lot of love. So I am right? It's middle. I think it is middleweight. I think he's with Jorge and all those guys.
Jorge. Yeah, it is middleweight. You're right. I had to think about it too for a second.
Oh, sorry. No, we're wrong. It's welterweight. Yeah, sorry. Kamara's got that belt.
I know the weight's better.
Let's start going with numbers.
Yeah.
Words are hard. So anyways, Leon's been, making a lot of noise lately because he hasn't had a fight since 2019. And it turns out that earlier this week, he was actually removed from the rankings for the welterweight division completely. And the rumor was that it was because he hadn't been accepting fights that they were offering him. And they listed out, I think an article had a bunch of fights listed out that he was offered and didn't accept. But his story is actually the complete opposite, saying that none of these other fighters have been accepting his offers to take fights. So not really sure who to believe there. But shortly after all of that happened, he was added back to the welterweight rankings, still at number 3. And now he's got a fight coming up on December 19th with Khamzat. So again, this will be Leon's first fight since 2019. He's on an 8-fight win streak, which I thought was pretty insane. I'm not sure what the record is for welterweight win streaks, but that's pretty high. I mean, for fighters in general, most of those were decisions. He doesn't have a whole lot of highlight KOs and things like that. But then you've got Khamzat, who's 9-0 and on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, and coming off that dominant win over Gerald Meerschaert. So I'm curious your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, this is very interesting because I honestly thought Leon Edwards was a bit underrated. I feel like he's a very good fighter and deserves to be in the top 10, but wasn't really given very many opportunities, or he didn't take opportunities. I don't know. I don't know about all that drama, but I think this is a very scary fight for Khamzat. Personally, I'm a little bit afraid for him because he's got all this hype behind him. And, he hasn't really had any really significant challenges, I would say. So this is going to be his test. But I feel like I kind of want to maybe would rather have him fight somebody else. Maybe not Leon Edwards at this point. Somebody maybe between somebody in the top 15, I would say he could handle. But, not top 10 at this point. This could be his, he could get derailed here, his hype train.
Yeah, I think he might be biting off a little bit more than he can chew here, but I guess that all depends on who you ask. I mean, there's so many dominant players in the welterweight division right now. Like even at number 14, you've got Anthony Pettis. You know, up from that, you've got Nate Diaz, Rafael dos Anjos, Jeff Neal, like Vicente Luque. It's just monsters in that division. You know, and Leon has worked his way through most of those guys. Like his last fight in 2019, he won a 5-round decision against Rafael dos Anjos. Before that, Gunnar Nelson. Before that, Donald Cerrone. In 2017, he beat Vicente Luque. So, you know, you think about what is Khamzat's main play here. I mean, obviously he's got power, he's got strength, but you look at the guys that Leon Edwards has gone through. Vicente Luque, I'm looking at in general, you know, talk about power, right?
Highlight on that one, man. If he beat Vicente Luque, I didn't know that. And that makes me worry even more because I was actually thinking that before you even said Vicente Luque, I was like, Khamzat versus Vicente. I would like to see that, but that scares me. But I don't think that's as scary as Leon Edwards. So
right.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Leon's last loss was to Kamaru in December of 2015.
Wow.
So I'm not sure how he hasn't gotten a title shot yet, honestly. I think that's what his whole gripe has been. He's like, what, you know, why is Dana not giving me any love? You know, we've talked about this at length. It's all about the hype. It's all about the stars and stuff like that. And maybe Leon's just, it seems like today, if you're not talking trash and you're not showing out, you know, on social media, then you're not getting the attention, unfortunately.
Yeah. Are they setting Khamzat up for failure?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I feel like Dana really likes Khamzat. So I feel like maybe he sees potential in him, that he's just like, you know what, let's just skip all the nonsense. Let's put him up against a top 5 fighter and see how he does. And then maybe we'll prove one way or the other, is he the real deal? I think he stands a chance for sure. I just think his body type, his power, could pose a big challenge for Leon, because I think Leon's a relatively small guy, right? Compared to Khamzat. I have to check that out, but
well, yeah, I mean, Khamzat can fight up a weight class. I think they're fairly similar in structure.
Leon's 6 foot. I feel like Khamzat's larger than that.
Well, you know, regardless, I think that really this is just going to be his biggest challenge.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very excited to see how this goes. Either we're going to see Khamzat get derailed, or if he beats Leon, maybe that's what the matchmakers are trying to do. They're trying to see if this is going to be the next superstar, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think he will be, though, because he's not much of a talker.
I mean, he's calling people out, though. He's not doing a lot of trash talking per se, but he's definitely calling people out, you know? Like, as soon as he finishes one guy, he's on to the next. But now that I think about it, didn't they already have somebody booked for him with that was the whole Gerald Mearshart thing, right? Like, he was all disrespected because they already had somebody booked for him.
Yeah, Damian Maia, he was booked. I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, what happened to that fight?
I don't think it was officially booked. I think it was just lined up, and then it just didn't come through. So.
Damian Maia out. UFC negotiating with Wonder Boy. This was September 28th.
Oh yeah, I remember the Wonder Boy thing. They were trying to find somebody for him, and they couldn't get it. They couldn't pull it together. Yeah,
man, Wonder Boy hasn't fought in a long time either. It'd be great to see him come back. But
yeah, well, in the interest of time, I want to, you know, speaking of the event this Saturday, you know, Anderson Silva has mentioned, I think last week, that this is probably going to be his. Well, he said this is his last fight, essentially. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of take this time real quick to just, you know, pay tribute to Anderson Silva, what he's done for the sport. You know, so, you know, just jumping right into it. He's had 45 matches in his professional career, 34, 10, and 1, 22 knockouts. I mean, that's pretty intense, man. That's 2/3 of your wins are by knockout, 4 submissions and 8 by decision. You know, so he finished 26 out of 34 of his wins. That's pretty crazy. He holds the record for the longest title reign in UFC history at 2,457 days. It started in 2006 and went until 2013.
Insane.
You know, so 7 years essentially. he reigned for 7 years. It included a UFC record 16 consecutive victories. So not only the longest title reign, but the most consecutive victories. I think that's as a title holder, not just like professional UFC. I think it's as a title holder. So, just to give you a comparison, GSP's number 2 on the list, and he's got 2,064 days with 9 consecutive title defenses. So 16 consecutive title victories. That's what I was supposed to say there. So, I mean,
16 title defenses.
16 title defenses is what I'm trying to say. So, comparing to GSP, I mean, he's got more than a year on GSP, who's second in line. I mean, he's going to hold that record 7 years for a long time. I mean, he's one of the best that's ever done it. Maybe he's not in the GOAT talk at this very moment, but he was the GOAT during his reign. He was the GOAT. And
he was the GOAT before the GOAT was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. He started it. He did so. He's an expert in Muay Thai, Wing Chun, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, and Capoeira. And a couple interesting facts. Before he began his career as a professional fighter, he worked at McDonald's and as a filing clerk. Really cool news as well is he became a naturalized U.S. citizen in July of 2019. And, there's probably some negative things that we could talk about, but I don't want to go there. Let's just focus on the positive. Uriah Hall is a tough match. And, I'd be happy to see him win his last fight. I think that would be great. I think that'd be really awesome. But yeah, I mean, I just remember, back during that time frame, it was all about Anderson Silva. He was just mopping the floor with people,
right?
And it was the Anderson show, basically.
Yeah, definitely, dude. I mean, anybody who's followed the sport for any considerable amount of time knows the name Anderson Silva. People who, I mean, he was sort of the Conor McGregor of that time period. It's like, even if you didn't watch UFC, you've still heard that name. You're still familiar with him. And I agree with your sentiment not to go with the some of the negative aspects of it, but he just seems like an all around great guy. Like he's a very good, we talked about with Gary and David, different personas that we don't like to be included in the sport. This is the type of persona that you do want to be associated with the sport. The respect that he has for other fighters in victory and in defeat is, unrivaled amongst many. And I think that sets an example for many people, many other fighters coming after him. So I definitely think he leaves a very good legacy with the UFC if he does retire. There are some articles are out saying that maybe he's not going to retire. Maybe he's not done. It's just hard to believe at 45 and as long as he's gone without winning at this point, that he would continue if he were to lose again tomorrow. It's hard to imagine that he would not continue on, but I'd love to see him. I was just trying to find an article. I thought I saw an article earlier today or yesterday that he might be looking at a different promotion, maybe fighting outside of the UFC or maybe doing something else in the sport as opposed to fighting. So it'd be cool to see him still stick around in some capacity, whether that's, I obviously don't see him being like a commentator just based on the language barrier. But I don't know. It'd be cool to see him around still.
Yeah, who knows? I'm sure he's gonna have some influence in the fight world, right? Maybe it might
coaching.
Not be UFC, coaching, have his own gym. Who knows? He's got tons of options, but really I think it's just, he just did such a good job as a fighter. And sorry if you guys heard that. That was my dog. Just getting all excited and running in here to see me. Anyway.
Did you say ball? You said ball? Ball?
Ball? Nope, no ball. But so that's really all we had for the UFC. Super excited for the fight. I'm sure people will be listening to this after the fight, so they'll know how it went. But before or after the fight doesn't matter. We appreciate Anderson Silva and what he's done for the sport.